Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome all to the fourth FutureX meetup. So FutureX is Synfutures pre-DAO committee, hosts bi-weekly meetups with crypto, DeFi thought leaders, digital entrepreneurs, smart money, and grassroots community members. In the previous FutureX meetups, we covered interesting topics such as the crossroads of NFT and DeFi, in-depth discussion on layer 2's road ahead, and today on where the hot GameFi sector is heading for. So I'm very happy to introduce today's heavyweight panelists: Adam Goldberg, co-founder at Standard Crypto; Flora Fang, COO at Highstreet; Zhou, Dodo's advisor and partner of Puzzle Ventures; Jesse Johnson, co-founder at Aavegotchi; Melody Taira, partner at Incuba Alpha and Meteorite Lab; and Chris, who's going to join us also shortly. Here you go, Chris. Also known as Mr. Block, is a DeFi and GameFi community.
Hey guys.
Yeah, and this is Matt, the finance guy. I'm a partner at Synfutures. So without further ado, let me pass it to our panelists to give a quick intro about themselves and the projects or the institutions. We will start with Adam.
Cool. Hi, so I'm Adam. I am one of the co-founders of Standard Crypto, which is a billion-dollar fund focused on the blockchain and crypto space. And we were very, very excited to partner with Synfutures at the very earliest stage at its seed. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, let's do alphabetically. Maybe Jerry?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Jerry. I'm from Puzzle Ventures and also the advisor of Dodo. So we are an early stage like crypto fund, and we are focusing on different aspects: DeFi, NFT, and of course Dodo ecosystem. That's all. Thanks.
Thanks, Jerry. Maybe to Jesse, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Jesse. I am the co-founder at Pixelcraft Studios. We're building out the Aavegotchi ecosystem. So you can see this live now at Aavegotchi.com. And our second dApp, which we just launched, is the metaverse for these cute pixelated ghosts to play in. And that is, you can learn more about that at gotchiverse.io. And yeah, we're combining the best standards on chain, whether it's the NFTs themselves, the DeFi protocols like Aave that we interact with, and ultimately the kind of DeFi RPG that we're all going to be playing in here very, very soon.
Thank you, Jesse. Flora, please.
Okay, I just realized I was muted. Okay. Yeah, hey everyone, this is Flora from Highstreet. We're essentially the Shopify of an MMORPG metaverse. We work mainly with brands for limited edition digital products. Also, we're built natively in VR, and we're very excited about our launch end of the year.
Thank you. Maybe Melody.
Hi everyone, my name is Melody. I'm from Incuba Alpha and also Meteorite Labs. So personally, I'm based in Japan and also China. We started investing from actually very lately, like 2019. I was invited to crypto industry back in 2017, but then firstly worked in VeChain and many other public blockchain. And then later on, we formed this rather boutique and small early stage crypto fund in Japan with several other influencers and also KOLs there. We are investor of Highstreet, so I know Flora, and then actually we are the investor of MCDAX with the competitor of Synfutures. So but very fortunately, I'm very close friends with both projects there, and also we are very connected with Chinese crypto communities and also Japanese crypto communities. Recently, we're thinking about forming a venture DAO in Japan. So if anyone they're interested in Japan market, just feel free to reach out. We help our portfolios to do a lot of like very local hands-on marketing and also communities work in Japan, especially. But also in China market, we provide a lot of like insights there too. So recently we're really into Web3 type of the projects, and for the GameFi and metaverse, we invested in Highstreet, in Horizon, and Cyball, and several other Solana game projects too. Yeah, that's
awesome.
That's
awesome. Thanks, Melody. Mr. Block, please.
Hey guys, this is Chris. I'm a core member Curve Finance, and it's just one of the largest stablecoin swap product out there. I'm also a founder at Mr. Block, which I focus on building basically Chinese speaking community. Been making tutorial video for the past 3 years. I've done over 400 video. Was making a video about Aave when it was still called ETHLend and later Len. And also done a lot of GameFi and NFT related videos. So Axie Infinity, Illuvium, and also Highstreet, which we're a big believer in metaverse. And yeah, it's great to be at this panel today and kind of share idea around in-game asset lending, guild-to-guild lending, semi-centralized lending, some of the stuff that we're seeing a lot at the guilds, such as YGG and Marriage Circle, which we're working closely with. And yeah, really glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. And thanks, everyone. I know you guys all know very well what GameFi is, but really, let's say for the audience perspective, can you use very simple terms basically to help us understand what GameFi is, and then is it a blockchain native thing, or do you think it may go to the mainstream? If yes, right, going to the mainstream, roughly how long and what it may take. So this is the first part of the discussion. I would recommend that we do this in a reverse order. So maybe this time, if we can ask Mr. Block to go first.
All right, cool. Yeah, I mean, the idea of GameFi has been around, I think, for quite a long time. But really, for me, it kind of started during the crypto voxel days and Decentraland and Sandbox, right? Sandbox kind of offered the mission type and where you can start earning Cent token. It's really adding utility into a lot of these metaverse, which was one of the first. And obviously in 2017, 2018, there were already a few gambling type of game that came out. But when DeFi kind of became set in stone, become popular with lending, with collateral, with composability, games start adding those fundamental into it. So I always look at NFT as an emotional value. So when we buy a lend and Sandbox or Decentraland, it's mainly emotional value in the beginning, just like apes. But adding DeFi aspect into it, there's a lot more fundamental into it. And the first step of it is play to earn. You get an Axie and you play that adventure, you earn SLP and use the SLP to make more Axie, and you sell the Axie on the marketplace. That's the first step of play to earn, a dual token model. And that basically got copied and improved onto multiple game now. And we see that not only in adventure game, but in car-based game, in race game, also in gambling, and moreover in metaverse like Highstreet, or walk to earn, live to earn. So there are multiple ways to kind of gauge the emission of the token, and there's also multiple benefit of having dual token model. We're even seeing triple token model on some of the games on Wax chain, which is a GameFi focused chain. And yeah, so that's simple words. I think GameFi, obviously, combining game, but it's not only game, but more over on the metaverse, and how you kind of create these token model that makes sense for the game instead of just adding random utility. So it's really cool to see Axie Infinity adding the dual token model since last year to really help minimize the sell pressure on the governance token, but to create more utility on their secondary token. Yeah, so that's kind of how I look at it.
Thanks, Chris. Melody, would you be able to share some of your views?
Yeah, I pretty much really agree on what Chris just mentioned. I think to me, first I think there's also the difference between like GameFi and also blockchain games. Like there are like games based on or utilize like blockchain technology, but doesn't have to be GameFi category into the GameFi category. So I think GameFi types of the projects really utilize the token economics, like to involve to draw more attention from normal people or for people who probably doesn't have to be the player. They could be the asset owner. Like for example, in Axie Infinity, we have the asset owner, but we also have the scholar. But mainly, it's the scholar who are playing the games, and involve more people, different kinds of people into the ecosystem of one game. So to some extent, it's not really only a game. As Chris said, it's more like a metaverse. Like different people are participating. It's more like a society. Like in the society, there are people who are more into like working, and they're artists, and there are different kinds of people. So I think GameFi types of the projects in getting more involve more people, like token holders, asset holders, NFT holders, and also players, and people who enjoy the game, or even some people who just enjoying the NFT, enjoying the art part. So I think this is a more like a broader definition of how we see game nowadays. So I think GameFi is definitely the innovation based on the traditional game industry. But there's also another type of blockchain games who probably do not really have to have the token at the first place. Their business model is more like the traditional game. For example, they are free to play, and then first they get users in, and later on when the top maybe 10% or even 5% user get more enjoyment, entertainment, or say emotional attachment of the game, they would like to pay. So what they pay there actually becomes the value support of the whole game economy ecosystem. So I think I would say those type of the business is more is actually closer to the traditional game business model. So I think there when we see different games as a crypto venture, we kind of like categorize different types of the game, and especially it's very interesting. It's like when the founder is more crypto native, they talk more about like token economics and the structure design and how to get involved more different kinds of people and to pay more focus on the token economics designing. But when talking to people, maybe their background lies in, for example, Amber or EA or in China, NetEase or Tencent, they pay more attention on the gameplay design part. So I would say like in very soon near future, we can see those people meet in category, and very interesting to see the results of their competition, or say maybe the fusion of different ways of thinking about GameFi or blockchain games.
Yep. Thanks, Melody. So may we move to Flora, please?
Yeah, so absolutely agree with both Melody and Chris. I do think GameFi need of like ownership within like assets or in terms of play to earn strategy. But like coming back, like Highstreet as an MMORPG like comes naturally with an in-game economy, just like any other MMOs. So you clear quests and find monsters to earn tokens. However, this model on itself is not sustainable, and we need to add more value to create like somewhere else. So this is why we focus heavily on phygital. So phygital products are like physical and digital products. And bring like traditional brands into the game. This way, like the time our players spend playing and earning actually directly creates value to the brands, and the money made is spent back into the market, which I think a lot of like the current metaverse or GameFi products are lacking of right now, because we do position ourselves like differently from the other metaverse. At the same time, we are actually launching very soon, because I know like a lot of people are saying that metaverse right now is more on like the advertising side, but not on the launching side. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good proposition, honestly. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Maybe Jesse, you're going to share something from the Aavegotchi side, please.
Yeah, I guess first I got to comment on Mr. Block. That was, the dual token model, and I had to laugh because we're going with Aavegotchi and the Gotchiverse and introducing 4 new tokens. So it's getting crazy. A quad token model. The reason we're doing that is that it's at the heart of the Gotchiverse. It's not just like, we love crypto voxels. I spent a lot of time in there, and it's more social and building. And then we really wanted to integrate some danger, some consequence, and make it a full-fledged game. So the end result is more of a DeFi RPG with crafting elements. And when you craft, like in Minecraft, you have a crafting table, you want to have multiple raw elements to put into create whatever you're trying to build. And so in our case, you're building NFTs, in-game items, but you want to craft in a completely on-chain way. So the Aavegotchis are 100% on-chain. The land is ERC-721. The installations you're putting on are 1155s. And then the question was, should the raw elements also be on-chain? And we went with ERC-20 tokens for all of them ultimately, because it's the most on-chain way to do it. You could do a lot of interesting things that way. So we ended up having to issue, or will be very soon, we're going to launch our alpha in January, and it will be, the 4 tokens are FUD, FOMO, Alpha, and KEK. And together they're known as Alchemica. And yeah, so it's a 4-piece play to earn type of crafting experience that will take place entirely on chain. And I guess the GameFi question, if you think of FI, it's for finance. And when you think of finance, I think of a lot of that is lending and extending value to someone else, right, on credit. So we're very happy I'll try to give a specific example of how we look at GameFi. And we came out with this Gotchi lending just this week that we announced. There's a thread on our Twitter right now going through it, which is basically, unlike the scholarship program, which has this kind of human middle layer, we wanted to abstract that away and also put that on chain. So you end up with a situation where my wallet can talk to any stranger anywhere and lend without any sort of need for, a hiring process or anything like that. So a guild could come in with 10,000 members, and the guild owns maybe 100 Aavegotchis in their multi-sig. And what you end up doing is just saying, we're either going to lend these globally to any wallet that interacts, and we can pull back the Aavegotchi at the time we set the duration, or we're going to lend the Aavegotchi only to our guild members, basically a special list. And in this way, it's going to be like, Grab or Uber or whatever the car rental app you use now, except the car will be an Aavegotchi, and anyone will be able to hop in, go to the Gotchi lending interface, and it's going to be a very user-friendly dashboard where they just say, I want this Gotchi for 8 hours so I can go play to earn, enjoy the game, no capital up front. And then at the end of the duration, it's all on chain. So a smart contract takes all their earnings from an escrow wallet and splits it according to whatever the terms were, 20/80, 30/70, 50/50, whatever it may be. And to me, this is like a perfect example of GameFi. It's DeFi integrated and it's all on chain. And we think it has huge potential to scale this kind of play to earn model from the start with us. And we're really excited to see all the guilds and different DAOs taking notice and coming in.
That's awesome, Jesse. I remember the name of the token you mentioned. One is called FOMO, the other called FUD. Yeah, I'd like a FOMO, please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a FOMO dog too. As our NFTs. With in-game utility. Yeah.
We should do a special spinoff with FOMO tokens to work with you on that.
Everyone will FOMO on FOMO. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And we should talk,
Jerry. Jerry, your turn, please.
Thank you for inviting. I think all of us we had something very meaningful and valuable. So I just want to shortly to illustrate my idea. Sorry. So I think GameFi, or regarding for the game industry, it fundamentally changed the gaming industry. So regarding for the Web2 game, such as World of Warcraft, CS:GO, Dota 2, League, they have very good gameplay, but regarding for the ecosystem, they are closed. Regarding for their internal economics, it's very simple. But when we move to the Web3 world, thanks to the high composability, we have a more complicated relationship between the producer and gamers, and we have a better interaction with other DeFi applications or even the metaverse world. So I think regarding for the fundamentally aspects, we are producing, or we are in a new paradigm of the game industry. So that's what I think. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry. Adam, may I hear from you from the investor's perspective? How do you see this?
Sure. Yeah, I think maybe I'll try and rephrase some of the things others have said and add a couple other points. But when I think about GameFi, I think about it as being enabled because of this new wave of games that have a separate game economy and game mechanics. And when you kind of look at the history, game assets used to be solely controlled by the game developer, as many of the others have mentioned. But think about Fortnite with Epic, and Overwatch and others with Activision Blizzard. There's a bunch of items in the game. They're often cosmetic, sometimes not, but they're purely controlled by the game developers. Right? The game developers can determine what marketplaces, if any, you can sell them on, how much they cost, what types of currencies, right? Whether fiat or some digital in-game asset that you can use to account for and buy these assets. And this is really the first time that users can, truly own assets. They can trade them directly. They can do financial operations, as Jesse kind of highlighted around the lending use case. For particularly valuable ones, they could even fractionalize and tokenize them. And if you think about the early history of gaming, games didn't even used to have economies at all. So it was just about fun mechanics in the very beginning. And then economies evolved, and think about kind of the early iterations of this. It was a lot of the pay to win games, where it was you're basically we're converting fiat dollars into an in-game advantage, and that was sort of the game economy. And the natural progression here is for these economies to be controlled by their players, controlled by their users, and that just happens to be decentralization. And I think Matt had mentioned earlier, sort of what does it take for this to go mainstream, and do we think this goes mainstream, and what does that even mean? And one way to look at it is that when a new pattern like this exists, going mainstream is usually from acceptance of the new pattern rather than kind of integration into the old world. And what I mean by that is think about when mobile gaming first kind of came out. People used to knock on mobile games as not being sophisticated compared to desktop games and console games as you have it, and that they were highly simplistic, different amount of computational power, very, very tiny interface. But the reality was it was for a different type of user and a different type of use case. And when we think about GameFi, it feels like it'll be more analogous to that versus integrating the next Call of Duty game in an organic way with that. Because I think a lot of publishers have adverse incentives in that the assets are actually how they monetize their games today. And they don't necessarily want that to be open. So we feel like we're going to see a lot of studios that produce new games where, you know, GameFi is a first order feature.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. I think especially the last point, I completely agree with you, right? So although traditionally some studios that create their own kind of economy to monetize within this economies, but going forward, definitely this, you know, open GameFi like games where, you know, the user will truly own these assets and trade, and this will create more network effect, you know, from purely, I would say, individual games to a network of games where things are more transferable. So this is definitely more value creation for everyone. Now, you know, talking about value creation, this is a, I would say, you know, there are many players in GameFi. And then we talk about, hey, this is a value creation for the users, but then is this value creation for the developers? Oh, maybe yes. But how about for the publishers? How about, you know, for, I don't know, any, you know, middleman before in this gaming industry? And you know, what are the general impacts to everyone? So yeah, we want to hear from the panelists, your view on the impact on everyone. So this time we'll do some random ordering. Maybe let's start from Flora, please.
Oh, okay. So what do you mean? Okay. What was your question again? Sorry. Like, what's the
I was going to say,
impact,
you know, GameFi will have impact, right? Yeah, for the users and for the developers, but there's so many parties in this whole ecosystem of games, right?
Yeah, so I don't think there's that much impact for the developers themselves. If we need to integrate with blockchain, then obviously we'll have like blockchain people to do that. Because the game itself, they always need to have their own mechanism. So it shouldn't be impacted. But however, like as an investor, like I'm looking at so many GameFi projects. Most of them, there's very poor tokenomics. The production value may be great, but however, what we see is like a production of footage instead of like the in-game footage. So we really cannot like anticipate what we can see in the near future. Like if you look at like Sword Art, Blade and Soul, it took like 6 or 7 years to build. But when it really came out, it was way less than what the users were asking for. So I do think there's a lot barrier with currently like the GameFi and blockchain. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Yeah, thanks. Maybe anyone on the panelists wants to share on this point as well?
Well, I would just jump in and say it's true, like transparency is always the best and blockchain's really good at that. So I would just second that. It's always good if you can find opportunities to show where your game or where your product is in real time. So at Pixelcraft, we've always we have a meme inside the team and inside the community about shipping. And we just constantly try to iterate and trial things on whether it's Kovan testnet or we're on Polygon. So Polygon's equivalent is the Mumbai testnet. And so like we'll go live, we're shooting to go live in December with a kind of alpha version on Mumbai testnet before the game even comes out. And some would say, oh, you should hold back and, you know, save it for the full release. But we love the feedback, and the community is actually integrating and giving us feedback constantly on every feature we add and everything like that. So we try to do that as much as we can, and we find it actually benefits us and makes everybody that's involved all the happier, and everybody has their role, because we are a DAO. So people are building around the protocol, giving us feedback, looking at our on-chain data. We get free bug bounties basically from the community all the time. So the more transparent you can be, I just second that. That's super, super important.
One more thing to add We're also launching very soon. So right now, everything we're posting, everything that's online, everything is in-game footage. And we are launching a lot of limited edition products with the celebrities and the brands at this moment. So yeah, I think we are literally the go-to metaverse for everyone in the blockchain space or from the traditional users. Yes, that's all.
Yeah, I just jumping to add something. I just thought about. It's like thinking about like what Adam just mentioned. It's really changed the relationship about assets and asset owners. It's not assets no longer belongs to the like big company or the developer there. And also one more thing is like I think blockchain game or say GameFi really liberates more talents from big companies and stuff. So it really gives a chance for the independent gamers to independent game designer too. So people can not easily, but people can get easier, fundraising, different fundraising methods, or even, for example, there are a lot of like games are selling their assets, selling their NFT sale before the game launch, but that will give the independent game designer a chance to gather enough money to do the development in the progress. So that one is really really thrilled to see. Because like in traveling between China and Japan, there are many game designers that I know in China. They probably not very good at business or not very good at promoting themselves. Compared to Japan, I feel like Tokyo is more like a place who can really allows the independent writer, independent game designer to live there. But I feel like blockchain and also the GameFi, the growth will also encourage more people and more talents, free talents to join the whole game and innovation there. That's definitely one thing. But also Flora said many games they just use the Unreal Engine and make something. It's not even the in-game footage. They just give you a very, very big fantasy there and with very high valuation stuff like that. We also see many of them. So I think when we really talk to the founders and entrepreneurs, I think it is really important to feel like if the founders are really passionate about what they are doing, the gameplay, how it is designed, and how they are thinking about token economics design. Are they really benefit asset owner or players, or are they more like benefiting big companies or VCs? Yeah, I think that one really can also categorize different types of entrepreneur and projects too. Yeah.
I just want to add one point. I think except for the game developers or game designers, this new industry, this Web3 game industry really impact many gamers. I don't want to say the gamers who are really enjoying the game or who just want to win to enjoy the gameplay. There are many people where we know in the play-to-earn games, they may call the scholars or exaggerate. So they will trade this Web3 game at their full-time job. So this game, so they actually make a living by playing the game. Especially many players, they are from many developing countries, and for those people, they are so they didn't get the benefit from the Web2 industry, but they actually fit themselves into the Web3 industry, and I think that is a great progress for this, and they are doing their sort of proof of work thing. So I think it really matters in the game game industry.
Yeah, I think there's a couple interesting points that I can jump in with quickly. I think Melody brought up a really interesting point about capital formation. And I think when you look at kind of access to capital formation within gaming, the most common pattern is to sell pre-orders before the game's finished. And to give you a sense of kind of the magnitude of what this sometimes look like, I think, and someone tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the most pre-ordered game of all time is PUBG. And I think it was close to $1 billion in pre-orders. And this may be some, nomenclature around how it was in beta for 5 years or whatever. But, generally, if you're a really well-known studio, you can raise something between $100 million and $1 billion in pre-orders to finance the game before it's done. Now, you're able to have value accrue into in-game assets or native tokens to the game, and you can sell those at an earlier stage as well, even if you're a newer publisher. And that adds a lot of really interesting equity and egalitarian nature where now new publishers can compete with war chests that they couldn't before. And then secondly, to Jerry's point about sort of reframing what fun means here, it's interesting that sort of in the GameFi world, there maybe are different types of stakeholders or different types of players, right? There may be some who are playing primarily for fun. There may be some who are playing as their full-time job, or there may be some who are playing sort of, as an investment to own productive assets that, they believe are sort of the best exposure for their, money. And I think that, one way to frame it is, it just needs to be more fun than your 9-to-5 job. I don't know, is driving Uber fun? Is delivering DoorDash fun? That's not a question someone would ask, because it's about sort of opportunity and, ways to generate income to support your family. So that's another interesting change here.
If I could just jump in really quick, these are two threads I really like. And one, like what Melody and Adam were talking about on the ability of an upstart to jump in and compete and offer a product or a vision. That's exactly what we've been able to experience at Pixelcraft Studios. And from this very start, we launched with a bonding curve that I think Melody might find very interesting from a tokenomics perspective. And that was September of 2020. So it's been very rewarding to be able to start decentralized with a fair access token on a bonding curve and see where that goes. And today the DAO has a treasury in excess of 8 to 9 million. And then, like Adam said, we're able to have this passionate community that understands and is even having a hand in the direction of the game. And that makes pre-sales or NFTs that are offered as access to the existing game and the upcoming Gotchiverse all the more powerful. We did a land sale 3 weeks ago that I think generated over $20 million in revenue. So these are the kind of numbers that can, while they're not Epic Games and Blizzard yet, they certainly are enough to bootstrap a very high quality game and bring in some talent from the traditional game dev industries and raw talent. So we're super excited about that trend, and we've been able to grow our team now to 35 plus and continue on that path. And then, yes. And then really quick on Jerry's point, it's very, very much a double-edged sword in our mind. We're so excited about the potential for play to earn and actually making a living that way. But we also see like the dystopian like alternative of, you just plug into the Borg and like have to do some digital work. So it's an interesting area to be in. I think it's one of the most potentially like consequential for the next 10 to 20 years and how things take shape. So from our point of view, we're just very mindful of having multiple ladders where wherever you start in the game, you can kind of choose your own adventure and have a way to level up. And as long as those are there and it's very equally distributed in opportunity and it's fun, then I think we're on the right track. But it's something to also be aware of. There's a bit of a danger here.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Jesse.
I was like, what sort of danger
okay.
are you really referring to?
Yeah, because I always thought Aavegotchi ghosts are kind of like cute, right? Sweet. Now you're talking about danger, Jesse. Yeah, I want to know.
Yeah, super curious.
Well, just to clarify, I don't mean the gotchis are dangerous. I mean play to
No,
earn as like a work ethic.
I think in the industry, like, or the field in general.
Yeah, but gotchis definitely have a danger side. They gotta. It's in our light paper. We wrote that they need aggressive outlets, so they also have an arena to go battle in. But generally, they're peaceful.
Oh.
That's true.
I think what he's getting at is like anytime a lot of people depend on something, for their livelihood. You have some level of ethical responsibility. And probably the most interesting recent development there was when SLP, within Axie, there's sort of different tokens, but SLP is what, scholars are earning when SLP tanked in price. Sort of how you prevent those circumstances, or, how you handle those kinds of circumstances. It's going to be really interesting to see what things look like in, the next 10 to 20 years when we're all playing with Aavegotchi to, be our primary employment.
Yeah, I think Adam's point is really interesting. I also quickly refer to the previous point about what's the definition of fun and also game. I feel like game the word game is like very originally it means hunting, right? It's hunting for a living, and then right now it's like getting your living. So it kind of like get back to the very original definition of what game is. And also I feel like in the real GameFi or say blockchain game really allows even more definition about game. It's like actually at the very beginning of the game, it's like for practice of hunting, and then later on evolves into something that really entertains you. And then I think in the late 1980s or 90s, I was like really inspired by the creator of the game Sim. I saw a lot of like video interviews of the creator of Sim, and then he mentioned about the very very original like concept about metaverse even back in like two decades ago, or like 10 more years ago. So it's like metaverse really not only for single purpose, it's more like multiple purpose. And in many games, even after people passes all the final take down all the final bosses, they still lingering there and enjoying the art, enjoying the music there. It's like, I think very typical example is about Zelda. It's like many people are still lingering there, play there. So I feel like in the future, the metaverse,
a Zelda player, yeah.
So a lot of like, I feel like there will be very comprehensive like purpose of game, like or for fun, and different definition about fun and make living. Different people will get what they want in the future blockchain games. So yeah, to some extent, I really looking forward to Highstreet, especially it's my portfolio, and then I really look forward to the launch of the product. And
thank you. Very soon. Okay, but I think if we do look at MMORPG, so like such as like World of Warcraft or anything else, basically there's like a lot of like plenty of things we could integrate with blockchain. And then if we do look at like PUBG or I guess like Fortnite, Apex Legends, because I'm a huge gamer myself, I'm a super nerd. Like I've been talking to like all these like studio houses, and then like the publishers. I think everyone's like super interested, but I think this is like the regulation part that we should be concerned of, because Steam announced to basically ban everything that's closely related to NFT or blockchain. I think right now we just need to figure out a way. But if we look at like the blind boxes, this is what everyone's doing, and that's what everyone's purchasing. So there's like a huge demand, a huge market for everything that's could be related to NFT or could be related to blockchain, but it's just not associated with it. And then if we actually look at the token design for games itself, not blockchain tokens, just like the game tokens itself, it's really the same. So basically we just need to like convince them or like persuade them that it's the same thing.
Matt asked for a prediction.
Flora,
I'm
good
going to
point.
make a prediction. I predict.
Yes, please, Adam. I was going to ask you, what's your view on regulation? Yeah, and the challenges.
In the next 5 years, I predict that Steam will regret
launch again
being NFTs. And I think that, Discord and others in the space who are leaning into it have a really, really interesting vantage point.
Yeah, so Discord, like, yeah. One thing I'm a bit concerned about. Okay, let's not talk about Discord, never mind.
No, it's okay. I mean, we're just moving to the challenge as well as the entry barrier.
And the regulation part, yeah.
Topic, yeah. And then because we so when we talk about DeFi, we always talk a lot about regulation recently. But in terms of games and GameFi, what's everyone's view on potential regulation and other like challenges such as the high gas fee cost. Right, and then whether there's good opportunities that currently offered by layer 2 or other layer 1 chains. I know Flora, you're going to take out that penguin, right? But hold on a sec. Maybe Adam, maybe on this point, can you illustrate first? Yeah.
Yeah, I think like with any emerging part of crypto, regulation is always an open question in some way, and I think it's a question of how we make sure that it's handled in a reasonable way, right? I think that having it treated purely as finance is probably not going to be the best outcome for the space. But I think at the same time, having it being treated purely as gaming, where there's, so to speak, no regulation or very little regulation in places like the US, is not realistic. So I think there will have to be some balance in between that is struck that ensures that bad actors, right? For instance, terrorist groups or groups that sort of wouldn't go through anti-money laundering measures aren't participating super actively in the ecosystem. But on the flip side, that we're realistic and aren't putting undue burdens on gamers and scholars and managers and so on that hamper the ecosystem.
Yes, good point. Jesse, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I was just going to think about in terms of where our heads are for this aspect. It's really important to get right because it could take a great game or product and then really hamper it if it's done wrong. So, just for any game devs out there or teams looking to build, it's really important to address this early and get good counsel. And so that's what we're busy doing. And even from the very start, going back to that bonding curve, we chose that partially because it's the most decentralized distributed. We just deploy the code. And the one thing we made sure to do is we tied that to a KYC provider. So we got a lot of heat for that. But if you want to interact with the bonding curve, you actually have to get your address approved by a KYC vendor. So we're really glad we did that in retrospect. We think it was a best practice that we could embrace early on, because we're looking at longevity and being, something that has staying power through the regulatory rulings that we know will eventually come over the next few years. So trying to build for the future, future-proof it, and do it by the way we think can be the most fair. So yeah, just add that, and then also decentralization. So I don't think, if you compare DeFi and GameFi, from my point of view, I don't see the equivalent decentralization. The D in DeFi is much more pronounced. So the Aaves and the Yearns of the world, they are properly decentralizing, and it's a protocol level, and the MakerDAO Foundation even closed down just so it's Maker, that kind of thing. But on the GameFi side, it's a little bit trickier because you have a game that needs guidance and constant updates, and it's how do you decentralize that? So we've had this vision that Aavegotchi is more of a protocol, and as Pixelcraft, we are simply building out certain products that use the Aavegotchi NFTs, and others are free to come in and also add value to this world. And we kind of have a 3-year roadmap to decentralize, where the dashboards and the DAO will go through 3 iterations until it's holding all the multi-sigs and all the different wallets that control the core foundational aspects of Aavegotchi. So that's our long-term vision. I think that's something we probably could see more of. Figuring out how to decentralize these will help in the regulatory realm.
Yeah, actually, one part I'm super interested about is the anonymous part. back in 2018 and 2017, when listing was impossible, right? Everyone needs a legal opinion. Everyone needs some sort of way to convince to get listed on public exchange. And when Hayden created this beautiful thing called Uniswap, suddenly it's a way to prove that, you just have to prove you have the ability to build up pool to liquidity, right? No one say DeFi is not regulated. It's always in a gray area. I feel like the regulation part is least of the concern, but what I'm really interested in is to see developer start making games in an anonymous way. Actually, multiple indie game developer that we've spoken with, they're working with AAA studio, and they're talking about creating a lot of games in the sideline and creating their own anon, present on Twitter, right? So we saw a wave of anonymous project that became the tier 1 pioneer project in DeFi last year during the DeFi summer round, and multiple projects that were endorsed by tier 1 projects such as Convex, Sushi Swap, and Abracadabra. There's multiple innovation and that came out from being bold and anonymous and not having VC money, right? So that might be something really interesting, I think, next year when game developer feel more comfortable and the market it's also much more flexible and are able to accept play to earn economy, right? What we're seeing right now is that the market is super frothy, where there's 100 games coming out. Most of the token model are not well designed. There isn't and most GameFi relying on staking and locking. But we are seeing a lot of innovation, right? Illuvium did the SIOB, which is an escrow token that minimized their sell pressure. SIOB is actually trading at 1/4 of the price of IOV, but they did the staking and locking for 52 weeks, which really helped them kind of minimize and build out the idea. And if we look at, for example, Mirror Circle, right? They did the SMC as well, similar token staking and locking mechanism. I know Highstreet just launched that one too, which I was suggesting them to do it. And that's because most of these games are not coming out until Q2 or Q3 or even longer. Average game development time, 4 years. And it took Sandbox 2 years to just start kind of their partner program and their first mission. So a lot of time is really idea building. The first game that I invested in is actually back in 2014, and it's called Star Citizen, and it was on Kickstarter. It's not one of the most expensive game ever built. It's, I think, 320 million. It surpassed Cyberpunk 2077. It took them 9 years, right? And Star Atlas is trading higher than them right now. So, but Star Citizen actually have a fully developed game and more than 5 million users play it. And so, I definitely see, a lot of scrutiny and regulation where people are afraid to launch token, since most of these AAA games are based in, the United States and they're usually a public traded company. But I do see a point where these studios start launching games in an anonymous way, where that's when we'll see like some of the top tier game coming out in the most fair launch style. And World of Warcraft just launched their free to play to level 20, right? So that brought up a lot of new players that used to cannot afford playing pay to earn game. So I feel like an interesting fair launch style where Jesse talked a little bit about it on the decentralization, kind of passing the Howey test and all, where we'll see game that we thought were playing an actual game and not a GameFi. And a year later, it turned out that all the player have some sort of game ID and were airdropped the game token. So now suddenly masses of millions of users are playing a game that is actually a crypto game that started off being traditional. And this is actually happening on one of the games that I talked to. They're based in Japan. They have now, I think, I cannot name the game, but they are having millions of users and are thinking of how to, they're basically convincing their board to that all these million users to turn them into a fair launch style. And that type of fair launch style, it's not the same as crypto where everyone try to write their own script and try to get airdrop. That happened in ENS, that happened in multiple projects. There isn't true fair launch. We joke about all these fair launch as friend launch. You talk to the VC that invested and tell them, hey, come in and farm some, add some liquidity. So there isn't really a true fair launch anymore. I think the fairest launch is you launch something, you don't know that you want to launch a token on top of it. And now you have millions of users and you somehow can reward them. And they've been playing it without the incentive of thinking they're going to earn some token from it. And now they suddenly get it. So those are the part I'm really interested and excited to see. Multiple gaming studio in Taiwan don't know about crypto and GameFi, and and the moment they hear about it, they're all thinking about converting it into it. And I think we're just seeing, the tip of the ice of the entire GameFi super cycle. Yeah.
For player, actually.
Yeah.
So what I hear is,
I think really I think you everyone has I would say different view, right? So as the players, or as the producers, as the developers, and as the game company, right? So I would say really the adoption would take some time, right? But the good thing is whether we're going through a AAA type of game to go into the mainstream, or we're building grassroots community in the emerging markets, and then this is also doing very well. So I believe that the two sides will meet, sometime shortly. Now,
really, sorry,
Jesse, please.
Please, what I heard is I heard Mr. Block talking about casual gaming. I think it's what will get the adoption for play to earn first? Is it going to be a kind of robust blockbuster style, huge budget game like Flora's mentioning, or something that's casual? I think the jury's out, and how you define success. There's already success out there, but yeah. That's kind of why we're going both ways. We think of the Aavegotchi itself as a playable NFT. It's like a Tamagotchi in the sense that it's intrinsic to the NFT itself. It's a game. So you pet it, it changes clothes, you earn points. That's like the casual game to me. And then the Gotchiverse to us is our AAA. That's the more in-depth layered type of experience. So yeah, I think there's room for both, and there'll be plenty of play to earn on both sides.
I agree.
Yeah. Good point. So I know we're a bit running out of time, but before we close today's session, maybe everyone wants to share some last comments regarding GameFi. Maybe we'll go one by one. Let's start again alphabetically from Adam, please.
All right, well, I'm going to stick with my earlier prediction that Steam reverts its policy on crypto and NFTs in the next 5 years.
Agree with you, 100%.
Look forward to that. Thanks. Flora, please.
Everybody please follow Highstreet.
And then you have the penguin. Yeah, you can show it now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Not the penguin, it's a duck. It's an avalanche / Highstreet duck.
It's awesome. Yeah, I went to your guys' party. Earlier this month. Yeah, it's awesome.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Please say hi to me. All right. Love you guys.
Yeah, and Jerry, please.
Thanks. So I had a old prediction that I think in 5 years everyone will interact with blockchain one day or per day. So I think it's similar in the gaming industry. So every gamer, they will interact with blockchain if they want to play the game per day. So yeah.
Awesome. You said everyone, right? Great. Yeah, that's
yes,
everyone.
Everyone. Yeah.
Think about how big the market is.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks. Jesse?
Yeah, I would definitely second what Jerry's saying. I mean, back in the day, it was gamers were gamers, and now everybody's a gamer in some extent. Everybody's got something on their phone, either casually or more in depth. And it used to just be me and my Game Boy, and I was the gamer. So we'll all, and if what we're talking about here today holds true, and I don't see how it cannot, people are going to want to own their assets and earn for their time and attention dedicated to these games. So it's a very powerful kind of new paradigm, and we'll see where it all goes. But it's very exciting to be here at kind of the early opening stages here. And yeah, everyone can check Aavegotchi.com, or our second product is gotchiverse.io. So welcome you all to check us out.
Thanks, Jesse. Melody, please.
Oh yeah, I just want to add last point about the policy and regulation, because when we talk about regulation, normally we think like governments and versus us. It's like a government versus entrepreneur. But I think recently, nowadays, especially for the GameFi or the blockchain games, there will be some situation that the DAO, the decentralized autonomy organization itself of the project, have to start thinking about maybe should we adopt KYC to protect the children from it, especially when we see more games are involved with violence or for example, Axie is fine. We saw Gabby tweeting about his son, getting a lot of money out of Axie, playing Axie. But then we're getting more and more blockchain games about shooting, about mafia, about violent things. So I think rather than the government, I think the DAO itself has to, start thinking about those things, how to like protect the vulnerables and how to be fair, and especially when DAO is managed huge amount of treasury, I think more responsibility and more thinking about the internal regulation or say governance should be pushed to the front of the stage, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, good points, Melody. I think that's definitely, you're right, good for the long term as well. Maybe Mr. Block, please.
Yeah. So overall, I'm really interesting about the DeFi aspect. We've been talking to a lot of guild-to-guild lending. There's this project called Blockchain Space where they're managing 2,000 guilds, and there's prediction of probably 20,000 guilds that will come out next year. Guild is definitely one of the biggest appetite within the VC realm right now. We saw Mirror Circle, did a 9-figure raise on Copper launch. GuildFi is launching, today, and then there's multiple sub DAOs that are coming out. Avocado Guild, Huga Guild. So we think Guild Guild is just like a clan, and in any MMORPG, it's one of the most popular thing. There might be micro guild, there might be, massive guilds, right? So that's something I'm super excited about. A lot of these guilds are usually, thinking about launching their own token as well. I think guild-to-guild lending might be something really interesting. In-game asset lending is something that we're also looking at a lot. Multiple.
Treasury is adding. Yeah.
Yeah, and multiple of these games are actually running on their own chain. We see Axie running on Ronin. Big Time is running on their own Big Time chain, and multiple GameFi are building their own private chain, and most of these chains are not permissionless. So in-game asset lending will most likely be semi-centralized, similar to something like Iron Bank that was pioneered by Cream, which they did DAO-to-DAO lending between Pleasure DAO. A lot of the the NFT lending that we see are mostly P2P, and so that part is quite limited and not scalable. So we're seeing 2 projects that are doing this in-game asset lending. One is called Kyoko. We're also really interested about GameFi and on-chain analysis tool. So we know that how important DBank Zappify Zero On is, where they can track DeFi yields. But most of the DeFi yield contracts are the same, so it's easier to track there. But GameFi is very hard to try. There's 100 games out there, but probably only 2 game or 3 game are mainly being trackable. Those are Zrun, which is a horse racing game, Phaeton Arena, and Axie Infinity. So there's this project called Metaverse. they're basically a pioneer in this, and they're like the Dune analytic of GameFi tracking. And what's interesting is that by spending and staking their token, they'll build a dedicated GameFi tracker for the game that you're using. So for example, on Zedrun, they'll track how much the horses are earning, what's the win rate, what's the ROI. So that's something that we see is really missing here. And lastly is a GameFi focused marketplace. You know, right now OpenSea are correct, and mostly Solana are Soci. They are, you know, very NFT focused, but a gamer focused marketplace will tell you which weapon you should buy, which weapon is good for which adventure, what type of you know, potion should be mixed together. Those are a gamer focused marketplace that really give you the Wikipedia of the game. There are 100 games coming out, but there's not enough information aggregator there is. So yeah, we're really bullish about this project called Lutex, which is focusing on yes, a GameFi focused marketplace. And yeah, lastly, Highstreet is something that we're really, really bullish on as well.
Super
you know,
bullish.
We think metaverse. So Highstreet is also a double, you know, dual token model, and with high-end street token that kind of, you know, similar to Axie, and it will be interesting to see how player and user kind of utilize. And like Flora mentioned, there's multiple interesting integration within a lot of the project we just mentioned. So and Highstreet is kind of built, you know, a lot of the metaverse that we see is prior DeFi age, you know, decentralized crypto and Sandbox were built before the DeFi summer and NFT summer. So the new metaverse that we're seeing, Big Country, Blocktopia, Highstreet, are built right after the DeFi summer. So they have all the experience, and we're able to build the correct token model and utility. And, you know, they focus a lot more on flow control and emission. So yeah, those are some of the stuff I'm super, you know, bullish. And lastly, the Anon project part, where we're really keen to see more anonymous developer building their own game, mainly game developer that, you know, we're hoping they come out and, you know, build newer games. Yeah.
Okay. Just adding. Well, okay. So the thing is, so a lot of people are saying that metaverses are coming. Okay, because it does take a long lead time to build metaverses, but Highstreet is launching very soon. Like, we're launching end of the year. We already have our alpha out. So yeah, awesome. And then we're also at the same time we're launching our initial job with a celebrity designer. So I do think if people are thinking that metaverse are going to take a long time, look at us.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
It is Highstreet.
In the interest of time, you know, really appreciate you know, everyone here today as the panelists for the, you know, fourth FutureX pre-DAO committee on the future of GameFi. And then you know, again, the communities will be able to have a look on the recording via YouTube. And then the key abstract and the highlights will also be shared via Twitter, via Discord and other channels. So appreciate everyone's time, and tune in, please, for the next FutureX in 2 or 3 weeks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.